My name's Jeffrey Palenik, and I run Palenik Studios. I'm a painter and a sculptor, and I've got my friends and my collectors, Luke and Maria Maurer here, who are gonna share a little bit about the work that they have of mine. Before I get ahead of myself, I just wanted to ask Luke and Maria to introduce themselves. So tell everybody who you are.
Cool. All right, I'll go first. My name is Luke, and I am a freelance musician here in LA. I play the viola and record for movie and TV scores, and also have a string quartet that I play with, and we do concerts all over the Southern California area.
Hi, I'm Maria, and I'm a stay-at-home mom of 2 boys, 10 and 8, and I'm Luke's wife.
Cool. Okay. And so for everybody that's listening, also tell them how you know me. How do we know each other?
So we are good friends from way back. We were part of the same church together. We've spent a lot of time together musically and artistically. Just had a lot of great time hanging out. And when Jeff started to really get into art in a more professional way, and we got really interested in pursuing having some of that art at our house, because I love it.
Right on. Thank you. Okay. And to what we're going to kind of talk about today is how you went from being without the perfect piece of art in your bedroom and finally finding exactly the right thing for you. And that's the painting that's behind you in the camera there, right?
Yep.
So tell me a little bit in your own words, what's your relationship with art and how long have you been interested in art?
Well, I would consider myself an artist. I'm definitely more of a musician, but I've always loved the visual arts, and I've always loved drawing. I've probably drawn longer than I've played the viola and violin. I've always loved designing things, cars, architecture. I loved drafting in high school and watercolor. So I've always loved art, and especially more of the, I guess, abstract side of things, and also modern architecture. So that's where I lie.
Yeah, I don't think I remembered you telling me about drawing as a young person. That's a new thing for me, which is kind of funny. As long as we've known each other, I don't remember that conversation. So yeah. We're gonna have to talk more about that.
Yeah.
How about you, Maria?
Well, I guess I'm an artist too. I'm a jewelry designer, and I love painting, doing a lot of arts and crafts. I work with resin. But as far as this type of art is concerned, I love going to museums and just looking at art. I gotta say, I don't go so much into the history of art, but I just love looking at it and the way it makes me feel. It's more of a, like an emotional, sensation. That's what I love about art. Not so much the back history of it, but just what happens when you stare at it, when you see it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, after you see art, how do you feel afterwards?
I think it inspires me. And it really, the creative juices are just there, and they linger very much. And the sense of wonder, like, oh, what was the painter, or the artist thinking about, or what was he trying to tell the person, people, what was his, more of like, what was his intention in choosing either the colors or the shapes, backgrounds, I just get very curious about it.
Yeah. Does it influence your jewelry making?
You know what? It does. It does.
Yeah, that's not surprising. Um, and that kind of brings me to the question, Luke, you already talked a little bit about this, but I'd like you to elaborate on it. What do you think makes your preferences in art unique?
Well, I suppose just what you're sort of around the environment around you growing up, sort of what you're exposed to just as a child and influences growing up. I think partially that would come from parents and friends, but yeah, I also think that certain things are sort of innate and you just kind of gravitate towards them. I just love precision and clean design. I love colors, especially the colors that you pick for your art too as well. I love the color palettes. So yeah, I think I just gravitate towards something that's sort of more minimalist, but that's very carefully considered and precise. So
those are very curious statements, you know. It seems like there's some connection with music there too.
Mhm.
Yeah. And why do you think that you lean in the direction of abstraction versus a representational painting?
It leaves a lot open to interpretation. As Maria was saying, it inspires creativity. So I think it really leaves a lot open to the viewer, and it can speak to people in different ways. So yeah, that's what's exciting to me about it. So open-ended.
Right. Yeah. It gives you more latitude for interpretation.
Mhm.
I kind of agree with that. Maria, tell us, what do you think makes your art preferences unique? Your taste in art.
I think similar to Luke, I think I like the freedom to be able to connect with art, and for people to have the same experience according to their background, according to their lives, their past, their desires, their futures, what they're feeling in that moment, in that day. It's sort of like a I don't know. I see art like as a little adventure outside this world. Like you kind of you can step away of the reality and just go into this world that you can venture off, and I don't know. I think that's probably what's unique about me. Like I don't really hear people saying stuff like that when they think of art.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a different world for me.
Sure. And what was your first like museum experience where you discovered what you were just describing? Do you remember? Or do
You
you
know,
remember a museum experience that you identify with that?
funny enough, that my first experience with a museum was when I was 6 years old. We were asked at school to do a painting, to have a painting, and whoever won the competition, they would place their art in a museum. And I had never been to a museum. My family didn't really have art at home. I grew up in a very humble, in a very poor area in our country. So art was not something that you kept at home, and museums, but wasn't something that you went to. So I was one of the children that won, and my art was placed in a museum in our country. And so that was my first experience. And that was this, I walked into the museum and I saw all these paintings, and I think just the all I remember is the colors, and I had no idea what the art meant, but I just walked into this world of like, oh my goodness, I felt like somebody introduced me to like a different dimension,
Right.
of how people
Yeah.
express themselves. Now I'm getting a little emotional about it, but that was my first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how an inanimate object it's not doing anything. It's just sitting there and it can just totally move you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about what it was like before you had this painting.
Well, we're pretty minimalist. I don't even think we had a
We had
single
nothing.
thing on the
We
walls.
had nothing.
Yeah, we're not especially people to put photos up, or I think we're both really anti putting tons of stuff up on the wall. So if it goes up on the wall, it has to be something we love and that we can live with. So yeah, and we knew that something needed to be up there, and we wanted it to be a piece of art rather than a photo or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maria.
Yeah, I think the same. When we first got married, we knew that we wanted, we didn't want a lot of stuff in our home. And our walls were bare, basically, and we knew that we wanted something, but we wanted something special, something meaningful. We just didn't want, just something, bought at a store or anything like that. We knew that we wanted something, from an artist, and I think we did look at a couple of things, but nothing that, we want this for our home.
How long when you were in this home was it before you bought this painting? How long were you there?
Oh,
maybe 6 years. I think.
6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So you took your time finding the right thing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, finding the right thing, it is challenging, right? Okay, so I'm going to share an image here, and you're seeing this too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so this is the painting, and it's called Ensemble. And I'm curious for you, Luke, do you remember the first time you saw it?
I do, and I just remember instantly loving it.
Yeah. Okay. And then I remember, I don't think Maria ever saw it until you brought it home. Is that right?
You might have shown me
Yeah,
a picture.
I think I showed her a photo of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I remember you coming in and saying, I want to buy that painting. And I was like, that was very exciting for me. Partly because of the friendship that we have, and the respect that I have for you as an artist, And what do you think of all the paintings drew you to this painting over some of the other work?
There's definitely a musical element to it without being overtly so. There are little things that suggest different musical instruments, but I love all the shapes individually and how they interact with each other. I think the colors are perfect for each shape. It's got a lot of movement to it without being dramatic. To me, it's just perfectly balanced, and it goes great in our house.
Yeah. Maria, the first time you saw it in person, what was your reaction?
I fell in love with it. the just the colors and the shapes, and I look at it, I'm like, oh, I can see like it looks like instrument parts in it. But also I saw like even figures, and half people, have human and have other stuff, and I just thought, oh my gosh, that is such a beautiful, I can just stare at it. And in fact, I still get up sometimes in the morning, I'm like, wow, like I see something different, it depending on, time goes by and I'm like, oh, I see something different from it that I love. And it just doesn't get old. It's like one of those, paintings that you just can stare at it and, you love it as much as you loved it when you first saw it. And yeah, I just thought that it was a perfect fit for our home.
It's funny, you kind of beat me to my other question, which was, I don't know, how long has it been since you bought this? I think it was 2017, right? So it's been maybe 5 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe a little less, but yeah, that's close.
And I was going to ask you, what's it like 5 years later? What does it feel like when you, does it still get your attention? And then when it gets your attention, does it feel different than when you first got it?
Well, it's sort of an old friend at this point. So I think, maybe it's less of a novelty to come in and see, oh, wow, look at this painting here. But every time I look at it, it does bring me a lot of joy. So I do enjoy looking at it probably every time I come in the room. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So this is not the only piece of art of mine that you have. And I want to share another piece. This is a sculpture. And before I share it, Luke, will you tell the story of the sculpture and how you came to have this sculpture?
So very early on, when I started visiting your studio, I had my viola with me after a gig, and you mentioned, I think it'd be interesting to have a sort of a musical response or sort of a collaboration with art and live music. But your art really would lend itself well to music and improvisation. So I thought, give it a try. Let's see what happens. And I just played a little bit while you were in the midst of doing some painting. And I think you were, as I recall, pretty inspired by the moment and just sort of went into a fugue state of painting. And it was a really fun experience there. So
yeah,
moving forward, we discussed the idea of doing a live performance at a gallery opening that you were going to do. And
before that, I think we had the open studio. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. I combined the two together. But yeah, it was a little performance, sort of a musical response to the works that were on display in the gallery there. So yeah, I can't remember if the sculpture was part of that open studio or not. Do you remember?
No, it wasn't. I hadn't made it yet.
Okay.
And it was about a year later that we had the exhibit at the library.
Mm-hmm.
And leading up to that, you and I had a discussion.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So instead of doing just improvisation, created a piece to be played at the gallery opening, which is sort of a response to your art, which was viola and cello. And in exchange for that composition, got the sculpture to place at my house. But I had a great time doing that composition. I had never really composed anything full length before. I've done a little bit of arranging and again, a little bit of improvisation, but I tried to really think of what that would look like musically to create something for viola and cello that would be a direct inspiration from your art style. So
Yes, and so I'm going to put this up here, but Maria, tell us or tell me, I'm curious, when you came and you saw the performance, what did you think about his composition, the music that he had arranged?
Oh, it was a beautiful, just, marriage of like, the art and the music. And it just, the flow of it was like, oh my gosh, this was so much meant to be, to have him, play in the background and, just seeing it was just like a perfect marriage. That's all I can,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
I felt the same way. I mean, it was so moving to me just to see what you had created. And that, all right, let's take a look at the sculpture. So this is the sculpture. And when we were doing this, I think if I remember correctly, I said to you to pick the thing that you wanted, right?
mhm.
I just said, just pick whatever you want. And you went straight to this. And tell us what was it about this that kind of drew you to the sculpture, Luke?
For some reason, I think of Disney Hall a little bit. The shapes. I think of some things in nature. On the right, it reminds me a little bit of some sort of old-fashioned woodworking, furniture type of thing. There are a lot of elements that appeal to me, and just the overall shape of it too. I mentioned the word balance before, but I really love the balance of this piece. And I think all the different colors and textures work really, really well together. And it's cool to see it in person and see how the shape changes as you walk around it. And it really is a sort of the focal point in our dining and kitchen room. It works so well in there.
So Maria, what was your response when you got the sculpture?
Well, the funny thing is that I had gone to a restaurant and I saw a sculpture on the wall. That those were the art that they had in the restaurant, and I thought, and I saw them, but they were made out of metal, a mix of metal and other things. And I thought, wow, that's really beautiful. And I started getting like, oh, maybe we can get something like that, and then here comes this sculpture, and I thought, oh my gosh, like that's exactly what I was thinking about. But when I saw that it was made out of wood, it just sold me, because I just really love nature. I love drawing flowers and sticks. I grab sticks and make something out of it, and the different textures that you use with it. And Luke is right. I mean, if you walk on this side and you walk, when you move around the piece of art, it just has a different view to it. Plus, it goes amazingly well with we have it in a dining room, and there's different types of wood in a dining room. So this piece was like, it was just like what our dining room needed,
Yeah.
So I really loved it. I was really excited, especially because I already had something in mind that I wanted for the house, but this is went beyond what I thought, and it's funny that you said this didn't even existed when you guys were talking about it. Well, it was being born as I was like, oh, I wish I could have a piece of sculpture,
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess it's important. This paint sculpture is called Daniel, and it's made from basically found wood. So I like to pick up wood that's been discarded and find a new purpose for it. And so there's a variety of different materials, but it is on the wall. It's a wall sculpture. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it is maybe 18 by 14, something like that.
Yeah.
Does that sound right to you?
That's about right. Mm-hmm.
And it stands off the wall by about 4 inches, 3.5 to 4 inches, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'm gonna stop sharing that. So what do you think now that you've had this art in your life for a while, what do you think has been an improvement or a result either in your personal life or your professional life? Has there been any kind of improvement?
Well, obviously the house is less boring. Something I was thinking of too is I clearly remember art on the wall of my house when I was growing up, when I was really young. And when we had kids, I thought I really want to have art in the house that will be a great influence on them and sort of open their minds, maybe in a different way than just having a photograph or some more realistic type of a painting, an oil painting of some sort. Just wanted them to have that in their life very early on to inspire their creativity. So,
yeah. And it has. In fact, the boys came over to my studio a little while ago and helped me with a painting. And is it hanging in Ethan's room now?
It's not hanging up yet. It's hanging out in one of the rooms, but it's not up yet. Yeah,
we'll have to get that one. Get that one up.
Yeah.
And Maria, tell me, what's different now? How has this improved your life? What's been the result of all this?
Well, first, I'm really proud of the pieces of art that we have in our home. When people come, I love to show them the art, or if they ask me, I love to talk about it. And like I said, sometimes I wake up and I stare at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just love it. It just brings joy, to my life to have it, to see it, to, interact with it. It also inspires me, if I'm making a project, is this something that that has inspired me. And then the same, I feel like I'm very happy that the kids are growing up, seeing the art, experiencing it. I didn't grow up in, like I said, having art at home. So that's a big, improvement for me to have my kids be able to have art at home. And yes, it has influenced them a lot,
That is so cool. And they are so fun to work with. Just having them come over to the studio and paint together. And we're working on actually a sculpture for Ethan, or for Henry, right now. And I just, I feel like art has connected our families together, and that really feels great. And it's also great to hear you describe to me about the experience of having people over and sharing the art with them. Art is kind of like food, it's sustaining. It's the thing that brings people together. Just like when you sit down and have a meal together, just eating together kind of connects you. But also sharing art is interesting because it tells a person a little bit about you also, right? The art itself has its own appeal, but it also kind of talks a little bit about who it is that owns the art, right? And I think it makes you a more interesting person, so when people see the kind of art that you get excited about. So, well, this was really fun. I'm so glad that we had a chance to talk about these things. And, I'm so happy that my art has a wonderful home with your family. And I'm looking forward to re-recording your performance, and we're going to put that on the website so that everyone, all of my collectors, can hear your beautiful music. I'm so proud of what you put together, and I'm even more excited about, because I know you're going to do a little more to it in anticipation of this, but we're going to put that up to go alongside this interview and share with people about this. So, thank you so much for taking the time to do this with me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, it was really fun. All right.
It was.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll close it there.